Yo, what's up, my mullet? Sharp here, bringing you guys another episode of Road to Pro. This is going to be a continuation of the series I'm doing. If you guys have not seen last episode, talked about how I joined Xtravagant Icon, started teaming with Rambo and Big Timer. And at the end of that video, I said, you know, MW2 came out, and that was pretty much the end of Xtravagant Icons. Me and Dodgers left, and you know, I went and started like a whole new team. And the people that I actually started teaming with were, we were on a team name called Aftershock. It was me, Modi, Proofy, and Fierce from Envy. So that was our team, and we started with that squad like for a little bit. And really at the time we just played GBs, because that's all you did at the beginning of MW2. Like you scrimmed and you played GBs. I think like our GB team was 60-0 or some shit like that, and we ended up losing to, I forget who the fuck we lost to, but we didn't lose with our real squad. We were playing like one of Proofy's friends, and so that wasn't really what broke up that team. I don't really know why that team just broke up. I think like we just made that, and we're just grinding at the beginning of the game, and it wasn't really the team that we stuck with. So after I was on that team, you know, that whole thing had broken up. I think Fierce pretty much like stopped playing after that. Proofy went his own way and teamed with, I don't even know what team Proofy went to. I think he was like on and off of that dominance roster with like Punisher and Nadeshot in them. And Proofy was just on a bunch of different teams. And I'd made my way back to Fear. So I went back with Moho. I think Proofy actually started out on Fear with me. So it was like me, Proofy, Moho, and just random fourths. And this part of MW2 is actually like a really, really, really bad time for me, because I think I just, you know, hung around on the Fear roster for way too long. I wasn't really thinking about myself too much. I was just kind of more thinking about like a whole team aspect, because I typically wasn't really like a sketchy person. You know, for the most part, like I know I left Xtravagant Icons, but you know, for the most part, I wasn't really, you know, that big into leaving teams. I was more so about making shit work and, you know, growing off of roster. And so we were teaming, and me and Moho were playing with Assassin. This is kind of like the time when Assassin left, or not really left, but he kind of lost interest in playing. He was, I believe he got a girlfriend, and as you guys know, with a lot of people, that'll change like a lot of stuff, not even just in video games, but a lot of stuff in life. You know, a girlfriend can change how someone acts. It can change, you know, their priorities, and you know they'll start managing their time more so, you know, towards, you know, hanging out with their girlfriend, talking to their girlfriend and stuff, than, you know, what they were doing before. So really, Assassin like just wasn't playing that much, and I don't think he really had that much fun with the game. And so me and Moho and Pac-Man went to Assassin, and we talked to him, and we're like, yo, pretty much like, we can tell you don't like playing all this stuff. And he was like, yeah, yo. And he's like, I'm just not really having fun with the game. He's like, honestly, yo, he's like, I'm probably just gonna take a break, you know. And he started talking about like working out and getting mad. He's like, I'm gonna get mad brolic, yo. He's like, I've been running around the park. And me and Moho were just laughing because like we know Assassin, and we know like he's just like a tall, skinny dude, and me and Moho were just laughing, picturing him running around a park. So, you know, like with Assassin getting off Fear in MW2, there was no bad blood, because throughout the whole thing, while he was, you know, while we were telling him, it was kind of a mutual thing pretty much with him leaving. We were all just laughing and whatever, and he's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna take a break. So it's me, Moho, and Pac-Man, and I think we ended up picking up Proofy again, and then we picked up Proofy, and like there was like a lot of roster changes in Fear. If you guys followed competitive back then, this is when Fear just like made a lot of roster changes. There were so many different people on Fear. It was actually fucking ridiculous. You know, JCap at one time, we played like one tournament with JCap, and he ended up leaving the team. We also played with a kid named Kenny, not the Kenny today, but he was his name was Complex, and you know, we ended up playing with him, and he left the team. And there were a lot of different fucking roster changes. That's why like this part of the story is kind of like fuzzy to me, because I don't know who all was on the team when. I just know that there was a time when me and Moho, like I think it was right after like JCap and the Complex kid left, that we're kind of like, yo, fuck all these, you know, all these like people with big names, you know, because people technically, you know, known people you know, we're just joining and we're leaving, and we're doing all these roster changes. We're like, fuck this shit. Like, let's go find some new talent. And this is where Dito, the creation of Dito was emerged, was through this roster, because we had known Dito from COD 4. I mentioned in the last video how, you know, I was on Xtravagant losing scrims with Dito, and Dito at the time was like a really big, like, I don't want to say like a dick rider, but he was one of those kids that would like message you all the time asking for an ad and stuff like that. And you know, I used to joke with Dito and shit, saying like, man, you fucking like message the shit out of me, and always asking for a scrim and shit. But like a lot of kids that are known now, you know, were those kids, and you just don't look at them like that, because it's whatever, you know, they were young kids, and you know, they were just trying to get their name out there. And so we actually scrimmed with Dito and another guy that Dito was playing with on TVA at the time. I forget who the guy was. But we played with Dito, and we're like, yo, Dito, like, we want to team with you, but like, you have to leave this guy. We're like, we want to team with you, but not your friend. And so Dito's like, all right, and we, you know, we picked up Dito. He dipped on his friend, and then we ended up picking up this guy named Bouncy Sniper, and he ended up just being Fear Bouncy. So we had that team for a while. At the time, like, we were actually pretty good. We were a pretty good team. Me, Dito, Bouncy, and Moho. I think Bouncy ended up leaving, and we picked up Proofy again, and it was me, Proofy, Dito, and Moho. And this is when we got into like the PCL 1 stuff. So literally a shit ton of roster changes that, you know, I can't even like comprehend how many roster changes we went through. We finally found this team. We started playing in PCL 1, and Dito and Proofy got into it. I don't know what the fuck they got into it about, but they got into it to the point where they muted each other in the playoffs of PCL. They muted each other, and we were playing with, you know, we were playing against Envious, which at the time was Stainville, 4Play, Sidrock, and Hastro. I believe that was the team. And we're playing with me, Moho, Dito, and Proofy, and Dito and Proofy have each other muted during the whole thing, and they're arguing and yelling and shit, and it was just a bad situation. We ended up losing that. And I think like that was the fucking breaking point for Moho. He was like, yo, fuck this shit. Moho started talking about going pro in Halo Reach. This is when Halo Reach came out. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Halo Reach? So he had started like playing Halo Reach, and I pretty much was just like, I'm done with this. You know, I think Proofy left the team, and like I said, this is a bunch of months of roster changes and just couldn't find the right squad. And I pretty much decided that I was done with this. I'm like, I'm dipping. Like, I hit up 4Play, and I was like, yo, pick me up. Like, let's squad up. I think Sidrock, so Envy ended up losing PCL 1, I think, because Sidrock couldn't show up to the match, and they ended up losing like Clayster and Modi's team, which ended up winning the whole PCL 1. And so Envy lost to that, and they got rid of Sidrock, because I guess Sidrock wasn't getting on all the time, and you know, he didn't show up for the PCL match. I'm like, all right, fuck this. If this guy's not going to show up, like, we're getting a new teammate. So they picked me up. So it was me, 4Play, Stainville, and Castro, and that was our squad. And at the time, like, we weren't really the best squad, because Castro wasn't really. He was kind of getting into the commentating thing. He wasn't really, you know, grinding scrims. We weren't really scrimming. I know Stainville and 4Play didn't really want to team with Astro, just because of that reason. Like, they knew that he was kind of on his way out and he was done playing. So we just really didn't scrim. I pretty much sat around and played like GBs and played tournaments with 4Play and Stainville, and would talk to those dudes and would watch Prison Break in 24 on Netflix. Fucking Stainville would hop on my Xbox party, be like, yeah, yo, Sharp, what are you doing? And I'm like, what up? He's like, you watching 24? And this fucking cocksucker actually ruined the end of Prison Break for me. He was like, I was like, yeah, dude, I'm watching Prison Break. He's like, oh, you got into the part. I don't know if you guys have seen Prison Break. If you guys haven't seen Prison Break, mute the shit right now. Spoiler. Fucking spoiler alert, mute your shit. Alright, so I'll wave my hand when it's unmuted. Basically, Samuel came in, he's like, yeah, if you got into the part where Michael Schofield dies, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh shit. He's like, guess you haven't. I'm like, you fucking asshole. Like, you ruined the whole show for me. I was like, I've been sitting here watching every season. He's like, God, have you gotten to that part? And I'm like, damn, fuck you. He's like, oh. He's like, yeah, I'm just kidding. That doesn't happen. And I ended up watching. I'm like, what the fuck? But spoiler alert over. I guess I'm gonna mute now. That's what the hand wave was for. Yeah, I was heated, but I don't know why I remember that. But he ruined Prison Break for me, and that I guess that's where we'll end this episode. Is Cocksucker ruined Prison Break for me. We'll pick up, you know, this is when I joined Envy. I think this is actually when I first joined Envy for the first time. I'd never been on Envious before. This is my first time joining up with that squad, and we'll talk about in the next episode. We'll talk about Hastro quitting, and you know, the emergence of our Envy team that pretty much, I wouldn't say dominated towards the end of MW2, but we were like a really good squad towards the end of MW2. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. If you guys like the video, be sure to give it a like. I don't know why I just paused like that, but if you guys like the video, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I'm out of her.